So this one is titled, Am I the asshole for refusing to let my husband's infertile friend name our son? My husband, male 33's best friend, male 37, Will, is infertile. He got divorced 2 times because of it and because he lied to hide his infertility. And his life hasn't been the same since the day he was told he can't have kids. He has always had a soft spot for children, and when he found out that my husband and I are expecting, he was so thrilled and started buying us gifts and decor pieces that he made from his woodwork for the baby. My husband thinks that those are all nice gestures, but I couldn't help but feel uncomfortable, especially with how much he keeps mentioning the baby. A few days ago, my husband and I found the gender of the baby. The minute we told Will, he started calling the baby a random name he picked and was going to give his baby if he wasn't infertile. He then started begging us to use this name, and my husband said it was a, quote, done deal. I refused, but my husband called me heartless and asked me to do this one small, nice gesture for his struggling friend to give him closure and honor him after all the things he has done for us. I flipped and said it's my baby, not his. Will heard this and left immediately. My husband yelled at me saying it's his baby too, and my behavior towards Will is abhorrent. He left. He left after him and didn't come back till the morning. Yeah. He kept saying the same thing and pressuring me to agree on the name, but I refused. Am I the asshole for choosing this hill to die on?
No way.
Bro, what is up with these people wanting relationships secretly with other people? This is weird.
It's
I feel like
his baby too.
No, but like the Will guy, I feel like Will and this lady's husband are using her as a surrogate. This is so weird. No one does this.
Right, the fact that he said it's his baby too.
What?
Yeah, that's where it's a little weird. I do have sympathy for people who struggle with fertility and the ability to not, it probably was a dream of his.
There's other options though. You don't have to like hijack someone else's baby.
No, of course not. And that's where it becomes weird. But I'm just saying I have the sympathy.
Absolutely.
And
it is a very tough struggle.
And I can't imagine what that does to your mental space. And we've seen this in other stories where people get really attached to someone else's kid and almost start to take it on as their own.
Yeah. And
you want it so bad that when someone close to you has it, you almost start attaching.
Yeah.
And, that's where a line needs to be drawn from the husband.
Yeah.
Like, dude.
I know.
And it's not you and your friend versus your wife. It's you and your wife making the call. And it's like, you're not going to take your friend's opinion over your wife's.
I know.
Because
why is this even a consideration?
This is you and your wife's child. This is your baby that you're going to name because you're going to have them in your life forever. And it's like an honorary thing. I think it's very cool to be able to name someone. That's really cool. And
that's so crazy to like think about because names can determine like a lot.
Yeah. And yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure when it comes to pick a name, but I also think like if you overthink it, you're going to want to pick 10 names. But the real thing here is it was when we could do this one thing. This is the one thing we could do.
Favor.
And this is not the thing.
No.
This helping your friend who has infertility issues is helping them figure out a solution to this, not you and your wife's kid becoming the solution.
Yeah.
Because that's just strange. You're going to set up a weird relationship from the beginning.
Absolutely.
Because this doesn't end with just naming the kid. This is like, oh, me and blah, blah, blah are going to take whatever the name is to the zoo today. And it's like
more so they become a couple and Will becomes a surrogate parent in a way. And can you imagine? It probably would turn out like that where he goes, I want to make Will our baby's godfather. And then Will is like, oh, this is my kid too because I'm his godfather.
Well, he definitely has a huge insecurity about it, which anyone would, because I think as a guy, when you think about meeting someone, you generally in our society, you think, okay, I'm going to meet someone. get married and eventually have kids. Like that's kind of the motto, right?
Yeah.
And so from a guy's perspective, you start thinking, and this is probably why he hit it and ended up in divorces. And that's also furthered this mental down spiral he's in.
But he lied about his infertility because there's people out there that are also struggling with the same thing and that would be willing to adopt with him.
Yes. But
it's the lying.
Yes,
that
it is.
him.
The lying is the fucked up thing. So that's a whole different thing in itself. But there's no reason for the husband to pressure his wife
Absolutely
into this.
Not.
And it's just
people picked up on that.
And it's so uncomfortable. Like in her position, it's like, well, okay, so now I'm starting to kind of question this whole deal because you're being really fucking weird, dude.
Yeah. So someone goes and kind of like off the point that you're saying, not the asshole. Mom and dad have rights to name the baby. Nobody else. Mom doesn't like the name, doesn't get included in the list of potential names. Dad doesn't like the name, doesn't get included in the list of potential names. Why is your husband picking a friend over his wife? This should be your concern here. Also, your husband is the asshole. His friend needs therapy, not to pick baby names for closure. Your husband is actually a bad friend for entertaining this. And someone comments under, also make sure every nurse in that hospital when you give birth knows that the birth certificate doesn't get within 10 feet of your husband, not the asshole.
Oh, that's so crazy too.
Because you do have to consider that.
That's so crazy.
Top comment though was...
And then you're like not on the same team anymore.
No.
Because then it's just like, okay, now I need to...
Watch out for you hijacking our baby's name.
Yeah, that's not cool.
No, and that's the last thing you should have to consider after you just gave birth. You should be able to be comfortable, safe, and not feel on edge that your husband is going to sabotage you with a baby name you don't want and let his friend name your baby.
Yeah.
So... this is hilarious. So it goes, not the asshole. Is your husband also building his friend an art room in your house? ?
Right.
Which there was a Reddit story a couple months ago now, probably, where this guy wrote in and he was married to this lady and they had an extra room in their house and he was obsessed with his friend. And so he turned their extra room into an art room for his friend without asking his wife. Lo and behold, shit goes down and it comes out he's in love with the best friend.
Yeah.
Which I haven't read that story yet, but now that I'm talking about it, I'm going to read it for Patreon. So that one will be on our Patreon sometime this month.
Yeah, I think really the thing here is it doesn't end with the name. This does not stop at the name.
It's a lack of boundaries is the problem here.
Correct. But the naming... if that were allowed, you're opening the door.
Can of worms.
That's the door opening. That is not. He is not going to be satisfied. You think all of the mental just pain and stress that he's been going through with his infertility is all of a sudden going to be solved by naming someone else's kid?
No.
You think that's going to like?
It's honestly it might make it worse.
Thing. Exactly.
It might make it worse because then he feels like he has such a personal connection to this child.
Exactly. And in her case, opening that door will also change her life forever.
Absolutely.
Because it's going to also say to the husband, hey, I'm okay with you coming in and bulldozing me and getting your way. Because this is so much bigger than just naming the baby. I
think that's like there's small little circumstances like that in relationships, marriages, partnerships, having a kid together where like your ability to compromise on things like a baby name or a house or what kind of dog you get. I think that says a lot because it is that skill of communication, compromising, coming to an agreement and like I think, this whole thing, it might seem insignificant, but it definitely can open a big can of worms.
Well, and that's why it's very important when you're starting to get serious with someone.
Yeah.
You start testing the waters before you get in too deep.
Yeah.
As in, where would you like to live? Where do you want to end up? What do you see your life looking like?
Yeah.
What do you think about pets? What do you think about kids? You need to have these conversations because by the time then, if you get to a kid and kids coming or house is purchased or my moving truck is packed.
Yeah.
And then you start trying to figure this stuff out.
No chance.
It's going to be It's gonna be a tough road.
No chance.